Dennis Ritchie worked for this language from 1972 to 1973. Now, 1989, we saw that C programming was standardized. Now, we can see on the table that it has been given informal name as ANSIC, ANSIC, which is also known as C89, right? Now, ANSI is American National Standards Institute. We have several other versions of C, and depending upon the years, like we see C99, which was standardized in 1999. We have C11, which was standardized in 2011, and so on. Let's take a very interesting story and understand C program structure. Okay, so there's a cafe called C Cafe, and the C Cafe sells a lot of things, like we can have different kind of coffees, we can have milk. Okay, and this is managed by Charlie. You can see the image of Charlie standing there along with two of the subordinates. Okay, now how this cafe works? Number one, a cafe should have a recipe book, right? So before starting the cafe, Charlie needs what? He needs a recipe book, and which contains maybe all standard instructions, like how coffee is made, how tea is made, how snacks will be done. Okay, so these instructions will be used not only by Charlie but maybe by other people also who will be joining. Like you can see in the figure that there are two new subordinates of Charlie. So similarly, in C programming also we have some header files. You can compare it with a kind of recipe book we have used in this example. The statement hash include stdio.h is a kind of recipe book, is a kind of header file which contains predefined instructions, okay, which have been defined beforehand. They have some instructions, they have functions, and it does what is, it simplifies our task. Like in case of cafe, Charlie will be using that standard instruction recipe book, right? I hope it is clear. So recipe book, you can compare your header files with a kind of recipe book that we have certain things which are predefined, already defined, already functions are there, already instructions are there. We will be simply using it. Okay, so just like chef refers to recipe book, a C programs needs header files to access the built-in functions. There are certain functions which are already built in. Maybe you can, for fun, let's take this example, you can use math.h like a section in order to have mathematical drinks, maybe. Okay, so math.h will have all the functions which are dedicated for mathematical calculations. So we can use it in C language, right? Okay, so let's talk about the next section. So after the code, you have seen there was a function called main functions, right? Now how, let's come back to our example, how that cafe is going to work. The cafe is going to work only when we open that cafe, right? In order to work in that cafe, we need to open the cafe. Maybe at 9 a.m., maybe at 8 a.m., maybe at 10 a.m., whatever the time is. And every morning, Charlie does that. Charlie has a standard routine of opening the cafe, right? Daily. So he does what? He opens the cafe. He checks the inventory. How much sugar is there, how much milk is there, and so on. And then he starts taking orders. So similarly, C function also has what? C function has a main function. C program has a main function. Okay, and the main function plays a similar role. So the program starts execution at integer main or void main, whatever you write. So that is the starting point of the program. Like if we type in this sentence, like you can check the code integer main, and inside the main, if I write printf welcome to Café C, and then I have written return 0. So this message welcome to Café C will be printed because I have given it in the main. Maybe there are codes before main also, maybe there are codes after main also, but the starting point of the code will be what? Main. So it is the opening routine of C program, very much like the cafe is opened by the owner. In our case, we are taking example of Café C by Charlie. Now, third section can be variable declarations. Okay. Now let's come to our example, Charlie's Café C. Now, there are certain things in the kitchen which he needs to take care of, like ingredients. So before preparing any dish, Charlie does what? He checks if he has like enough milk, sugar, coffee beans, cups, etc., etc. Okay. And when he's clear, then only he can use it. Similarly, in case of C programming language, we have ingredients in the form of variables. The variables are what? Variables are spaces which store information. Like we are having containers to store sugar. Similarly, we have variables which store information, like we can store sugar. Okay. Let's take example for C. So if Charlie wants to track the number of coffee cups available, he might declare integer coffee cups is equal to 50. Now, what instruction we are giving to computer? We are giving the instruction to the computer that the number of coffee cups will be 50. So the computer will store the number of coffee cups as 50. Okay. So coffee cups are what here? It's a variable. Variable does what? It stores information. COFFEECUPS. It's a variable. Okay. We have declared a variable named coffee cups and which stores values. Here we are telling that please store 50 as the value to the variable coffee cups. Got it? And int stands for integer. Because 50 is an integer, so we are telling that, okay, store this integer value in the variable coffee cups and this value is stored there. Clear? Okay. So we have completed 3 parts. We have cleared the header files. The header files are required, the starting things. Okay. We have covered the main is required. Main is the point at which the compiler starts execution, and we have talked about the variables. Okay, how variables are declared to store some value. Next, we may have certain statements and expressions. Okay, now statements and expressions can be like customers' orders. So every time a customer places an order, the cafe processes it step by step. Okay, like what is the step in the cafe? You take the order, then you go and check the ingredients, you prepare the drink, and you serve the customer. Right? So this is step by step, one by one, and that is why procedures are there. C also does that. It executes the statements one by one, and that is why it is also known as procedural language. Okay. Similarly, in C programming, statements and expressions define the steps to process the data. How you are going to do it one by one, steps. Okay. Example, if a customer orders a latte, take a kind of drink, coffee, the cafe checks if milk and coffee are available before making it. So how you can give instructions? You can give instructions like if, you can see the statements which I have written, if milk is greater than 0, that is we have milk, 0 means no milk, right? So if milk is greater than 0, that is milk is there, and Now you can see I have written ampersand twice. So if you write ampersand twice in C, it means and. Okay. So I have given milk is available and coffee beans greater than 0. That is coffee beans are also available. If both the things are available, there's a condition and there, then only I can prepare latte. So what I'll be printing? The computer will be printing printf. Under double quotes I have written preparing a latte. That is, the preparation goes on. So there are certain statements and expressions in C language also, which is basically like we do in every day life. It is what? Step-by-step procedures. Okay, clear? So let's move on to the fifth part. The fifth part is the functions. Okay, the functions are what? Functions are specialized. You can compare with specialized chefs. So Charlie soon realizes that managing everything himself was very difficult. So what he did? He hired chefs with specific roles. Maybe one chef will make coffee, another will make tea, and another is for baking. So even in the photo we have seen two other subordinates along with him. So in C also, functions break down a program into smaller manageable parts. Because if we don't break down into smaller manageable part, the whole code will be maybe of like 500 lines together, and that all the things will be in procedural line one by one. Okay, so instead of like all the things together, what we do, we organize the things into smaller sections. Okay, smaller steps. So like maybe in order to prepare just coffee, we declare a function void make coffee. So it is only concerned with coffee. And whenever customer maybe asks coffee, we'll just call that function make coffee. Okay? Whenever a customer is there who asks for tea, we'll call another function make tea. So they are specialized in some work. Like make coffee function is specialized in making coffee. Make tea is specialized in making tea. Maybe one of the function is specialized for making cakes and all. Okay, so you have specialized steps, specialized organized steps, and the steps are same. Like every time make coffee is called, every time it will make coffee only. It will not make tea. Okay, if we are calling function make tea, every time it is called, it will make tea only. It will not make cake. Right? So the functions are working only for the same number of steps repeatedly. This is function. Okay, so it allows what? It allows reusability. We can use it again and again and again and again. You can call it again and again. Okay, let's move on to next statement, which is return statement. Now in real life also, in the example which we are taking, like Café C, the customer provides feedback after enjoying the drinks. If they liked it, they'll say like maybe great coffee. If not, they may request change. This coffee is not good. Maybe give us something else. So similarly, in C programming, return statement provides feedback or output from a function. Okay. Like maybe we can have a function like calculate bill. You can see the code there. Integer calculate bill. And inside the bracket I have written price, integer price and integer quantity. So I'm passing on these two values, price also and quantity also. Right? So it will do what? It will calculate price into quantity, and then you can see return price into quantity. So it does what? It calculates price into quantity, multiplies both the things and returns back to the point where it was called the result. Okay, so function does what? A function returns some value. So return statement is basically used for sending the value back. Whenever function is called in C, okay, function always returns something. Unless until you say void and then a function. Void means empty. Okay. So whenever we call this function, now you can see that in the last line, like if integer total is equal to calculate bill, and I have given 5 into 5 and then comma 2. Now 5 is what? You can see the line above, it was price. And 2 is what? 2 is the quantity. So 5 is the price of one coffee, and 2 is the price of 2 is the quantity. Then 5 into 2, 10 will be returned. Okay. So this is how the function will return back the value. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Next part can be standard input output. Input output means interaction. Like whenever we both are communicating, sometimes I am speaking, so that is output, and you are listening, that is input. And then you have raised your hand, and then you asked question, that is output from your part, and then I listened to what is your problem, and then I answered, that is input and output. So customer interaction also. A cafe is nothing without interaction. Customer places some order, input, and then cafe offers some drink. Okay, so this can be handled using two functions which are standard input output functions which are there in C, and they are scanf and printf. Okay, so for example, customer orders in a program. Let's take that example. So we have said CHAR, which is basically a short form of character, and name of the drink. Okay, and within the bracket I have written 20. I'll explain all these things later on when arrays comes. But for now, just understood that okay, drink is a string. String means combination of characters put together, and we can go up to a maximum of 20. Okay, for the name of the drink and the value of the drink which will be entering. Okay, so when I ask what would you like to order, maybe the person in the cafe understands. The computer does what? Computer prints it on the screen if I give the same command. And then computer waits for the input from the user. Input will be done by scanf. For output, the computer will use printf. For input, the computer will use scanf. And then scanf does what? Takes the value whatever the user has given, but it can take what? Characters only up to of 20 limit. Okay, not beyond 20, because we have defined the size, that the size of the drink is 20. Clear? Now, so printf, then we will say, okay, you ordered, and then name of the drink will be printed there. After double quotes, you can see the name of the drink is there. Right, so this is how computer interacts with the user. Input, output, input, output. You can see printf is output, scanf is input, again printf is output. Maybe it will ask again for something, the user will enter, then again input. So input output is basically the interaction, and that interaction is responsible for the data flow between the user and the system. We have understood through this example, through this story, that Charlie's Cafe C can run efficiently because of proper planning, organization, and execution. So all these things are important. In a similar way, a C program also needs to be very well thought of. It should be structured. It should be well structured. It should include recipes like header files. It should have specialized chefs like functions. It should have all the aspects coming together like input, output, and all. statements execution, variables, all these things will play role in that. So we'll think about all these things when we write the C programming. That header file should be there, the function should be there, the variable should be there, the statement should be there, the input output should be there, the kind of return statement should be there. This will be looking when we are structuring the C program. So let's combine all together what we have discussed so far now. So we can have hash include stdio.h at the very start, which you can see on the left side, and then we can have two functions. The first function is to prepare a drink, which does what? It simply gives a message that we are preparing your drink. Then we can have a function to calculate the bill, which does what? Price into quantity, and it returns the statement. And we can have the main, you can say, function. The execution starts from the main function, right? Although I have written functions at the start also, include, after include, but the compiler will start execution only from the main function. I hope the lecture was fine and you all enjoyed, and you all have got a glimpse of what C language is all about, how we communicate it with the computers.